Barry, just off the top, you had a couple of regular guys that weren't out there. Can you tell us what the status is with Martin Varlamov and Bolduc?
Marty just had he's working through an injury that really he suffered during the playoffs, and it didn't get better where we wanted to. So he had just a small procedure, and he's getting very close. So it's just a little bit of timing when he had the procedure and his recovery time. So I'm not worried about Marty at all in any way. Varley was been out skating and all that. It's just had a little bit of soreness. So we're being very, very cautious with him. Obviously, he's such a big part of it, and it's right at the start of training camp. So we're just going to let things settle down for him. And who's the third guy?
Bolduc.
Bolduc, same thing. A little bit of an injury, skating with the guys here. Got sort of stretched out a little bit. So nothing major. It's just one of those injuries that we just need a few days, and then you'll see him on the ice hopefully in the next couple of days, because this is the time that you can be cautious, start training camp, because you don't want anything to linger. So those are the three guys. There's nothing major in all those situations. So it's just a sort of day to day.
Go ahead, Arthur.
And Bode Wilde is a young guy who you've had in camp a couple of times and is obviously not here. Can you speak to his absence at all?
Yeah, well, Bode, we respect everybody who has their choice, their freedom of choice, which Bode exercised in terms of the vaccination, which is fine. We respect that. I do know this, that he's going to play hockey, and we're just trying to find him the best place that he can continue to develop, because we think he's a pretty good prospect. So, there's no issues at all, other than that, it's just like every company, we have rules, and he doesn't quite, fit in that or believe in that. And we respect that. That's a human right. That's fine. But we do believe that we've got to put him in a really good spot to, so he can continue to develop and continue to be a prospect. And hopefully we'll hope this all gets, this COVID thing gets settled down and the world gets back to normal. And hopefully Bode's playing a lot of games for the Islanders in the future.
Brian Compton, NHL.com.
Hey, Barry, hope all is well. Obviously, a lot's happened here in the last year and a half, but is it hard for you to believe that you're entering season 4 here? And just how has your mindset changed walking in day one today as opposed to a few years ago when you didn't know anybody? You really didn't have an idea of where the team was headed. And now you guys are annual contenders here. Thank you.
Well, I think exactly. I came into a situation that I thought I had a grasp on it, but then you had to go through training camp, and what I envisioned or what I thought necessarily wasn't the case in terms of some of the players, the team, whatever. And then you really don't know until you own it. And I saw, once we got things together, and you learn about the players, the type of people that they are, what their goals were, then I felt a lot better. And then we were able to, get things going in the right direction. I think we've carried that through. And I think we continue to try to build and try to take the next step. Yeah, I mean, we want to get to the summit, like the other 32 teams or other 31 teams in the league. But you got to keep climbing, and we're looking for ways to continue to climb up that mountain so that we hopefully one day can lift the cup over our heads, just like some of our guys have already done. And I've had the great fortune of being able to do that. And there's nothing like it. And I think what you're seeing with this group in the last couple of years, and I say the core group, I'm talking about the Clutterbucks, the Caseys, the Martys, the core group of Islander guys, that they're trying to make their own legacy. I mean, we had such great success in the four cups and a dynasty, and it's been a little bit hit and miss in the last 20 some years. So I think this group is stabilizing. This is the Islander way. This is a good franchise, a great place to play, and stabilizing from an organizational standpoint, stabilizing from a a competitive standpoint, stabilizing from an arena standpoint, and it's exciting. And I think with what we've got building and the fan base and all that, hopefully we can continue to build and get closer to the summit every time.
Chris King, Islanders Radio.
Hey, Barry, great to see you again. Just tell me what it was like for you and the rest of that group to be out there, you know, the first session with Zdeno Chara and that imposing physical presence for the first time.
It's pretty impressive. That's the best way to say it. You think you know what a guy that like Z is and does around the league, because you have that respect for what he's done in the league. But when he's on your side, it is very impressive. That first group was as good a group as we've had in any training camp in terms of execution and I'll say competitiveness, all that. He's business. He plays for keeps, and those are special guys. We're, I've only seen one or two guys like that in the league. Scotty Stevens when I was with Washington in my early years, and obviously Scotty was very young back then. But the way they demand things in practice and force you to compete and keep your head up and all that. It's very impressive, and he's in great shape for his age, and he's a total pro, and it's very impressive. And as a coaching staff, we talked about we've got an excellent group of leaders. I think we've got 4 guys that have been captains in the National Hockey League. We've got a number of guys that have been assistants, and a number of guys that haven't worn A's that. On probably any other team, they'd be a captain or assistant. They just lead. So it's an easy group to like. It's an easy group to coach in terms of their effort, because they're professional and they demand that of each other, which is fantastic, from an organizational standpoint, from a coaching standpoint. And, we have the same goal, is to win hockey games and to hopefully, take the next step that we have to do in the playoffs, and this group understand that you're building here. There's going to be some pain on the way. There's a lot of work that goes into it, and if you just stay with it, you usually get rewarded. So you don't know when that's going to happen.
Corey Wright, Islanders.com.
Barry, with Zach Parise, just what do you think that he can bring to this lineup this season?
Well, I think obviously he's going to bring leadership. He was one of the guys that was the captain. Obviously, that leadership will be there. I think he brings a professionalism. He has a hunger. He's great around the net. He goes to those hard places, and he demands a level of intensity that is contagious. So I think he's gonna do all that. He's gonna score some. He's gonna play a good role. Hopefully he can help one of our special teams for sure. And then his impact with the rest of the group hopefully can help the young guys continue to grow and help us win, because he's won.
Christian Arnold, New York Hockey Now.
Coach, with Chara's arrival, what obviously Noah Dobson can benefit from a player with that experience, but for an Adam Pelech, obviously who's earned a lot of trust and been playing a lot of big minutes, what can he learn from a Zdeno Chara-like player? Chara in particular here, now that he's here with the organization?
That's probably a better question for Pelly. There's so many good things. Pelly does so many great things. They're probably similar in terms of a lot of roles that they play right now. Obviously, late game situations against certain players. I think what he'll learn from Zdeno will be some of those intangibles. Some of the things about players around the league, probably when Adam's mind starts to go a little bit, and that how we can refocus. That's what big Z, I think, he's a very focused professional athlete, and I think that helps you bring calmness to everybody around him, and that's probably some of the things that he can benefit from. And the things that he can learn from Pele is probably a question for what Pele would ask him.
Mark Rosenman, New York Sports.
Good afternoon, Coach. Two questions, two-part question. If you were sitting here and watching this practice, you would not know it's September, the pace and everything. Could you reflect to the difference from 23 years ago with your first camp with Nashville and the way players come in today? And the second part of the question is, you mentioned the focus and the competitiveness of that first group. How much of that is a direct result from the success you guys have had the last two seasons?
Well, I think you might have answered a little bit of your own question, but a lot of, when it comes to, there's a couple questions in there. I think the pace and then the way players come into the game now, I think they come in and they're fit. They've got they get the touches. I think that's the biggest thing. I think they put a higher value to what they do with skill coaches and touches and all that. I think back in the day, guys would say, yeah, we're training. They'd come out and they would skate, but they would scrimmage. And when you scrimmage, you don't always get all the touches. You get some of the feel for time and space, but you don't get a lot of touches. And so your execution is not really great. I think players now understand that getting some of those things, the touches and the skill aspects and the edge aspects of their game, with the skill coaches and then the way they train, the skating coaches, all that, it's sort of, when they get to the scrimmages, it sort of helps them get through the scrimmages and execute through those. And that's probably the biggest thing. I know back in the day, you'd get probably 15 minutes of, shots, and it's pretty loose and you're warmed up, and then they go into scrimmage, and really it's at a pace that is not suitable for NHL caliber play. I think they've got understand more detail, and it's more ingrained into them. And then, it adds to the pace when we do play with the veteran group that we had, even in both groups, there's a lot of veterans in there that play the right way, practice the right way. It just pulls everybody along. And I thought that was a direct result of a lot of the execution. We went to a bigger group that, if you remember 3 years ago, because I didn't know the players and I wanted lots of touches, I went to 3 even smaller groups of 17. We have a more veteran group this year, and I explained it to all 3 groups in our meeting, is that I really wanted to get 2 veteran groups of 20 guys, and that we're the younger guys and a couple of really important veteran guys for Bridgeport, from a leadership standpoint, be in a small group so that they can work with the skating coaches, they can work with the skill coaches. And then we have what we call game development, so that they can develop their game in positionally, and then still getting the concepts of the team stuff that we teach in the classroom, if you will, and on the ice. And they're going to be part of all the scrimmages, so they're going to get an opportunity to not only play in exhibition games, but also some of the scrimmages to show what they can do. But we felt it was really important for us to, because we have such a veteran group, that we could make 2 pretty veteran groups, bring some of the young kids along in some of those groups, and we may switch them out as you see in the next few days.
We'll go 2 more questions here so Barry can get to his prep meetings for tomorrow. Arthur Staple, The Athletic.
Barry, we love to read into things that we see the first day,
Yeah.
but when you see Z with Dobson there, is that a pair that you want to see something, whether you can develop some chemistry there? Because like you said, you do have a veteran group, and maybe not a lot of shuffling around that may need to happen.
Yeah, no, absolutely. If you look at our team, obviously, I thought Dauber and Greeny are both guys that can play. Played very well together. I felt with Z, and this is the conversation I had with Z. I think he's going to be a very important part. And he actually asked me who I would play him with, and I was quite honest. I said, we've gone with Pele and Pulley as our shutdown guys, for the most part in our last couple of years. And I said, I would probably start you with Dauber because he's done such a good job with, some of the people you look at. He's been a partner of guys like McAvoy and Krug and those guys that they all developed really well. So having a mentor a little bit like that, but it's not bad when you have a guy like Z playing next year and you're a young guy. You've got a lot of experience and he's got your back for sure. So I said that's where I would start him, but I could see him playing with him and Scotty Mayfield, together at times. I could see him and Ryan Polak playing together at times. So I just said, probably I'm going to start him with Dauber, just because I think there's such a great wealth of experience that he has and knowledge that maybe he can rub off on a young guy. And I know Dauber, respects all our guys because he's a very respectful young man. But I think there's a lot that you can learn from him. And then we'll let probably everybody play a little bit with everybody. But I'm going to start there, and I told him that. And it's just think about if you're a good young developing defenseman, there's not too many guys around the league that you can say, yeah, I wouldn't mind being with this guy or at least pick his brain or whatever. It's a pretty good guy. There's like 1,700 games of experience. So that was our conversation. So I started him out that way. And I could see, Z playing with all three of our right-handed D because they all bring a little different part of their game. Late game, if it gets into a real net battle type game where teams are funneling pucks and that, you can put, you got a Pele, you got a Pulley, you got a Mayfield, you got a Chara, you got some guys that have a lot of weight there that we can get into those battles around the net if teams are trying to crash the net a little bit.
Arthur, do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, just and with the sheer number of forwards that have some NHL experience here, what are you really looking for? You put Golishev, who's kind of a new guy with your top line guys. You've got Panik maybe in Marty's spot for now, but what are you looking for these just first few days from some of these guys that are trying to get noticed up front? Well,
I'll tell you so that you can read into it a little bit, and I'll tell you my mindset on all that. Like Golishev, we got here. We feel that his strength of his game is goal scoring and the offensive part of the game. So I wanted to put two elements, right now, Elise and Barzy, two parts of a really good line and see how he would fit. Because if he's a guy that makes our team or is a call-up guy, we want to put him in the right type of role. I have Panik in Marty's spot. And I be quite honest, I'm going to have to find out what exactly Richard Panik is as a player with us, what he was with Washington and any other team he's been with. He has a good skill set. He has a little edge to him, and he can play on both sides of the puck. So I got to decide if he's going to be in a top 6 forward, a top 9 forward, or is it a fourth line guy that would blend in well. I started him with Casey there because I do know that he has an edge. I do know that he's got under people's skin on our team, and so that's not a bad spot to start him because that line does get other people off their game. So, if you look down the lineup, I tried to do that with some of our people is put them with two sort of veteran guys. Otto Koivalev, we think is a solid young guy. We put him with two pretty good wingers. So I've been trying to put two veterans with a young guy in those roles that we might see them play.
Last one here, Corey Wright, Islanders.com.
Barry, I think it's the first time we've spoken to you since the Team Canada Olympic announcement. Just your reaction to being part of the coaching staff for Team Canada.
Well, it's to me, I'm honored anytime that your country asks you to be a part of something. As when Coop phoned me and says, I want you to be on the coaching staff. I said, Coop, I will do anything for you. If you want me to sharpen skates, you have to get the opportunity to be part of Team Canada, be a part of an Olympic experience, even if it's maybe a little bit of a bubble situation. I just think it's something, as a coach, when your country asks you to do that, I always want to try to honor that. And it's a little bit of, I always look at it as it's an experience I'll never forget, no matter what hopefully it gets me better as a coach as well, because you have, John Cooper and you got Pete DeBoer and you got Bruce Cassidy. They're very good top end, high end coaches in the National Hockey League, and any little thing that I can learn, I will continue to try to learn from all those guys, and hopefully they can learn one or two things from me. And I'm really excited about the opportunity.